It's almost as if the Glamour writer published the piece to piss off the internet, cause controversy, and dare I say, get the clicks. No, that can't be. Wouldn't that make them a mommy sleuth?
Show me life, show me love.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's Ashley BTV. I'm a former TV news reporter and Hollywood actress that's taking you behind the headlines. Before we get started, hit that subscribe button and hit the bell for notifications so you never miss a video. If you think corporate media is different when it comes to celebrity gossip, think again. Today, we're breaking down Glamour's latest piece by Stephanie McNeal, which frames the online controversy surrounding Blake Lively as a hate campaign led by none other than mommy sleuths. Yes, because when women dig into something, it's harmful and obsessive, but when journalists do it, it's investigative reporting. Coming from a former journalist, of course. First, let's define some key terms. A journalist, by definition, is someone who collects, writes, and distributes news and information to the public, ideally in an objective and fact-driven manner. Meanwhile, Glamour magazine, founded in 1939, originally focused on fashion and beauty, but became an online-only publication in 2019, meaning its revenue and success now depends entirely on digital engagement, clicks, and ad revenue, the same thing that McNeal claims. But right now she says she's a serious journalism. So let's take a look at some of Glamour's latest headlines. We're just gonna scroll to the top of Glamour and see what their latest headlines are as of today, March 19th, 2025. Latest news, 12 best sex toys to help you squirt. I can't believe I just read that on the internet. Okay. Very serious journalism. 14 pairs of Mary Janes we can't stop thinking about. Mary Jane's the shoe. Very serious. Do Meghan Markle and Gwyneth Paltrow have beef? The rumors explained. Rumors? What? We're journalists, right, Glamour? Ellen Pompeo says the push-up bra is so back. Okay, I love Ellen Pompeo, and her interview with Alex Cooper was fire. She has completely disrupted television and how women get paid now millions and millions by breaking the ceiling. Thank you, Ellen Pompeo, for your incredible work on Grey's Anatomy in front of the camera and behind the scenes. But Glamour chooses to focus on how the push-up bra is so back from Ellen Pompeo. So my question for you is, do these look like serious pieces, or does this look like tabloid fodder that thrives on clickbait and viral topics? Stephanie McNeal's article frames the ongoing scrutiny of Blake Lively as a coordinated online hate campaign. You would think she was hired by Blake Lively's team. She dissects people who are analyzing Blake's actions by going over her posts and engagement and saying that there's an emerging trend of internet media sleuths. Many of them are mothers who've built platforms entirely around celebrity gossip and exposing their inconsistencies. So all over her article, Stephanie points out that she believes that this is just one example of a larger internet phenomenon where online communities take celebrity behavior, like what they're doing on the red carpets, and they analyze it to death, and this often leads to negative narratives. But I'm here to tell you, of course, what you already know. I'm just putting it into another context, which is corporate media does this exact same thing. When I worked at E! News Now behind the scenes, I was literally told to stalk celebrities' Instagrams and try to see if they're posting something new, what they're up to, and of course, what are they doing? They're taking those little moments and blowing it up into a big thing. Why? Because we love celebrities. We want to hear what celebrities are doing, what they're wearing, what they're saying on the red carpet, and any beef they have with their co-stars. So when Blake Lively says something about Anna Kendrick, it's not just sleuths on the internet covering it. It's all of mainstream media. So what, my friend Stephanie, makes that any different? Well, Stephanie likes to argue that what makes the mainstream media different than the internet sleuths is that she is in fact paid by a salary, which I understand. You would think, hypothetically, that that would make you a little unbiased, but yet her article is entirely biased. But I thought we just read the definition of a journalist. It's to be objective and unbiased in nature. So what do you call a piece like this? It is an opinion piece, an op-ed completely of your own. This is why people do not trust the news. You're claiming to be a serious journalism, yet you're writing opinion pieces on the mommy sleuths out there and essentially targeting them to cause hate. Why? Well, one would think that Stephanie, who analyzes pop culture and society, knows it's to piss them off, to get the click, because whether it's Netflix watching Meghan Markle or it's you clicking on this video, Netflix knows the same thing that Stephanie does and Glamour does, and that is whether you're reading it because you want to or whether you're hate watching it, you are clicking on it, and that's exactly why she released this piece. She knew she was going to piss a lot of people off, and she was doing the very thing that she's saying you guys do. And that is coming up with a clickbait title and making this about a bigger movement and how it's actually the women online that are destroying the women in the media. So in fact, she's saying corporate media is actually the victim. Interesting. So one factual thing to point out is that the problem with McNeal's article is that when one part is provably wrong, well, it undermines the credibility of the entire piece. For example, she wrote that Paul Feig's wife was supposedly in the crowd at another Simple Favor premiere, when in fact, she actually was in the crowd. This isn't a minor detail, it's just factual, correct journalism. And if she's going to make these things up, how can we believe the rest of the piece when in fact, again, it is an opinion piece? She also writes, quote, while some men are jumping on board, the most popular of these creators, which range from nobodies doing voiceovers to far-right provocateurs like Candace Owens and Megyn Kelly, are women speaking to other women. Owens even coined a term for her audience who spend their free time investigating Lively's alleged bad behavior via TikTok in order to ruin her reputation. Mommy sleuths. Now, are there a lot of mothers out there that might be stay-at-home mothers that are following this case? Yes. Do they have access to the same things that journalists do in their own newsrooms? Yes. I'm telling you, they don't have access to more than you do right now on the internet, and it pisses journalists off because you're beating them to the punch. They have a middleman in which they have to report things, get legal approval, and then they go on air that night or they publish the next day. But the internet sleuths are coming online and they're just breaking the piece before the mainstream journalists can even get to it. And the main thing that these editors want is to be the first one to break the story. So why? It gets more engagement. They don't want you taking their engagement, and you're the one now that's uncovering all of these things, when in fact we have learned that because of the internet sleuths and investigation that's going on behind the scenes, is actually unveiling a lot of inconsistencies and false allegations. For instance, it was the internet sleuths that found the timestamps on the New York Times piece and really uncovered that they'd been working behind the scenes a lot sooner than they had unveiled. What the media is so upset about right now is that they used to be the ones that were uncovering the truth of the world. But now, the internet sleuths are the ones uncovering the truth about the media, and you can't disrupt the media, folks, because they want to control the narrative. So McNeal wants to cause a lot of controversy, and she knows that saying this will. She's trying to connect this to the hashtag #MeToo movement, which has nothing to do with the situation at all. She writes, quote, I'm just going to say it, this isn't normal, and it's about more than just Blake Lively. Since hashtag #MeToo exploded into public consciousness in 2018, an online war has succeeded in erasing many of the gains made by the movement. If those against hashtag #MeToo can't stop famous women from speaking out against sexual assault, abuse, or harassment, they can apparently slowly erode from credibility until they are pariahs and the target of such an unrelenting campaign of hate and misogyny that their public image is incurably damaged. The hardest part of this is to swallow, is that women, mostly civilians, are the ones falling deepest into this rabbit hole, being convinced by TikTok to turn on their own. Are we supposed to believe that all criticism of women in the public eye is an attack on hashtag #MeToo? And are we also supposed to believe that every single woman who makes a claim should be believed? Because history has shown that many women and people do make false claims regardless of their sex for wrongful reasons. Stephanie would have had a lot more credibility and respect if she actually broke down the case in its entirety. She refused to include any of that in her analysis and just likes to lump Blake Lively into a hashtag #MeToo movement, making Blake Lively the victim as well as corporate media and the internet sleuths the one who actually committed the crime. Stephanie, you lost us by not doing what journalists are supposed to do, which is presenting both sides of the case. You completely lost all of your credibility, and you're really losing credibility for all of corporate media out there by putting out these op-ed pieces that are completely one-sided. What are you trying to do? Oh yeah, that's right. You're trying to do what the mommy sleuths do, which is get the click. So like I said, Glamour and other corporate media outlets, they're so quick to point out how much content creators are capitalizing on this gossip and speculation and internet trends, but they're doing the exact same thing. Stephanie says in one of her Instagram reels or TikTok reels, I can't even remember, I can't keep up either, that people are thriving on this and they're turning it into conspiracy theories because in a case like this, there aren't daily updates yet. Somehow there actually does tend to be quite a bit of updates daily, and the internet sleuths aren't the only ones reporting on it. Mainstream media is too, but she's trying to discredit them and say that they're spinning you into conspiracy theories. When we've seen time and time again that Ryan Reynolds, Blake Lively, and even Colleen Hoover are stirring up the theories themselves by posting things on social media, by getting on SNL, by making weird videos, Colleen Hoover, and it's causing the speculation. It's not the internet sleuths causing the speculation, they're just the ones reporting on it, and mainstream media isn't happy that they're beating them to the punch. And let's not act like we're holier than thou. McNeal herself is an employee of a larger publication that thrives on clicks, engagement, and trending topics. So while she has a fixed salary, that salary is still tied to how well her articles perform. And believe me when I say, no one is going to approve you doing an article or a TV news story that they don't think is going to get high engagement on the internet. Glamour itself is a great example of this, going to online only in 2019. It's entirely dependent on the click, on the ad revenue, and yes, Stephanie's job is on the line if she fails to produce that. So she is in fact misleading you by saying, I'm just a salaried employee, I have no ulterior motive. Also, something that gets very overlooked and is hidden behind the scenes but very widely known is that journalists, corporate journalists that is, absolutely consider how their work will impact their future relationships. And I've seen this firsthand. I've watched journalists go easier on police departments and politicians and PR reps because they knew that they needed access to them the next day. And Glamour of any publication needs access to celebrities. They're not going to burn any bridges. They want those future interviews and exclusives and all access passes. And this is an unspoken reality of mainstream journalism that nobody talks about. But let's not forget that besides the fact that our little internet sleuths uncovered the New York Times tea that is helping lead to further investigation in this case, they actually have also gotten real results when it comes to accountability. Take the case of Dr. Roxy right here in Columbus, Ohio, the social media famous plastic surgeon who was known for recording her surgeries online but botching and hurting hundreds and hundreds of women. It was actually internet sleuths that helped us to break the case. I was the journalist who broke the case on CBS News, but it was the internet sleuths all coming together and sharing stories that they were able to rally this into be a bigger story to expose even more, to further the investigation of getting that unethical, unlawful plastic surgeon her license removed. If it wasn't for the internet sleuths, that surgeon could have been continuing to hurt hundreds and hundreds of women. Thank you, internet sleuths. Stephanie, it's like you're forgetting that the internet came. This is going to continue to happen. You can't shut down social media. She's dismissing these obsessive people, but it's exactly what led to real world, real life positive consequences. So why is it when the mainstream media investigates, it's respectable, but when online content creators do, it's dangerous? As we drive this home, I want to stress that this isn't about Blake Lively or Stephanie McNeal or Glamour or sending death threats like do not target Stephanie McNeal. It's about media credibility and how narratives are being shaped and who's in control of the narrative right now. The question is, are independent content creators really the problem, or is it the corporate media that's just upset that they no longer control the conversation? Now, as a former TV news reporter and forever journalist, I'm always going to try to present both sides of the case to you because that is our duty as journalists. So here's devil's advocate. Yes, internet speculation can get out of hand. Sometimes we can see people just throwing spaghetti at the wall, and there have been so many cases with misinformation that's spreading way too quickly and innocent people that have been unfairly targeted. But the reality is also that corporate media is not immune to those same issues as well. They've pushed false narrative, they've leaned on bias sources, and engaged in the very same clickbait-driven journalism that they claim to detest. So the real question is are we witnessing a rise in dangerous internet sleuthing, or is it just that the mainstream media is scrambling to reclaim its authority. If you've watched this far, I would love to hear your thoughts. Thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. The comments are for friendly engagement. I'll see you in the next one.
Show me life, show me love.